Hi, my name is Barry, and I'm putting this video or series of videos together to hopefully help some other people that have been dealing with what I've been dealing with since probably around 2015. My issue is I have ongoing brain fog, dizziness, nausea. I've been diagnosed with cervicogenic vertigo, migraine-associated vertigo, 3PD, and a host of other things that I probably just don't really have. Through a long course of trying to find the right doctor to help me, it was finally discovered that I have a venous outflow obstruction, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But first I want to show you some imaging of my internal jugular vein, which will help kind of visualize what my problem is. And if you've been struggling for a long time, maybe it's something you should get checked out too. So let me bring up these videos here. So you'll see on this first image, I'm circling my internal jugular vein. That's my right jugular vein. And you can see that something is squishing it, and it is getting flatter and flatter as I advance the screen. So again, some pictures it looks nice and big and juicy and round, and others it's getting compressed. So to kind of find out what was going on, I had a CT venogram done with contrast, and I'm using BEE viewer for Mac, which is a 3D viewer, which really lets you see what's going on here. And if you'll notice as I zoom in, I'll point to an area where, right there, where it's being compressed. And the area where it's being compressed, if I really zoom in, you can see that there's a part of the C1 vertebrae called the transverse process. That's the rounded nub on the end of it there, that is compressing the jugular vein along with the styloid process that's hanging down from the top there. So that jugular vein is about 75% compressed between the transverse process and the styloid process. So the 75% compression is a problem for me because my right-sided jugular vein is about 3 times the size of the left one. It is normal to have one that's more dominant than another. Maybe not quite so normal for 3 times the size. My doctor said if this was on my left side, I would not notice this at all. But because the right side is doing the lion's share of the work, and it's 75 compressed, that is an issue. So how do we fix this? What do you do? Do you put a stent in there? No. The answer is actually pretty easy. Well, not easy, but the solution is simplistic, but it is a surgical solution. I'm going to have a procedure done on October 6th, if everything goes well, where Dr. Peter Costantino, who's with the Brain and Spine Surgeons of New York, is going to make an incision over here, somewhere in this area. He's going to go in, he's going to take out that styloid process that's hanging down. It's kind of like a stalagmite, or a stalactite, excuse me, hanging down from the top of a cave. It's supposed to be, if it's supposed to be this long, mine has grown to be this long. Not necessarily a cause for an issue or concern unless it's causing a problem. And in my case, that transverse process, that nub on the C1 atlas, and the styloid process hanging down, it's really squishing that jugular vein. And again, because that vein is 75% compressed, I did some high school algebra and calculated the total available venous outflow if both veins were 100% open, and that one being 75% compressed takes me down to about 46 or 43% of venous outflow. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, arteries bring blood to, veins bring it back to the heart. So the carotid artery, that's the one that supplies the blood to the brain. The jugular veins is where all the used blood comes back and goes back down to the circulatory system. When the jugular vein is compromised or compressed, you're not able to bring enough of the used blood back quickly enough into the circulatory system. And that is blood that's been spent. It's been used by the brain for processing power. It's full of debris, exhaust, whatever you want to call it. So you want to get that out and back into the circulatory system as soon as possible so it's cleaned and refreshed and sent back. So a fairly common side effect of having a venous outflow obstruction is brain fog. And with the brain fog comes dizziness. You could get some nausea. So again, doctor's going to go in. He's going to shave down that transverse process. He's going to take out that styloid process. He's going to do something called a fasciotomy, which is where any of the connective tissue that holds the jugular vein into or up against parts of the anatomical system, he's going to remove that fascia so that the vein can move more freely. If there is any nerve restriction, there's a couple of important nerves that come through there. I believe the vagus nerve runs right along that pathway. And also, if memory serves, it's the spinal accessory nerve. If any of those are being compromised in this, he's going to work to free those up as well. There's also a muscle that runs underneath here called the digastric muscle. He is pretty convinced that those also contribute to compression in that area. So he's going to give that a little snip. And I absolutely cannot wait to have this procedure done. I don't think the recovery is going to be that long, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to post up videos, post-surgery, recovering, letting everyone know how I'm doing, and hopefully this is going to be the long-awaited answer to my issues.